Hello, hello. What's up, everybody? All my amazing listeners, welcome back to the Sean Lowery Show podcast. This is episode 70 of the podcast. And from anyone that's been following me from the beginning, you've seen it evolve from being at my house to episode 1 to now 70 weeks later through 70 episodes. I've been doing it every single week. And I've done many by myself, and I've had some incredible guests like Patrick Bet-David, David Meltzer, Brad Lee. I would say the combined net worth of some of my entrepreneur guests is probably somewhere around $1 billion. I've also had some comedians, some political people, all kinds of interesting topics, but every week has been a little different based on the guest. So I want to start bringing some consistency to this podcast. So for 10 episodes, I'm going to try something new. I want to cover the same topics and to have awesome conversation with the same people. So I'm bringing on some non-famous people, some of my friends. My friend, David Hecker, one of my best friends from college and life, and Brandon, who you know, my podcast producer, the man behind the scenes. He's going to be chiming in, being part of it. And the three of us, we're going to put on a show for you guys every single week, build some rapport. We got Hecker mic'd up, and I'm super excited for it. So welcome to episode 70.
What's
David
up?
Hecker, how are you doing, man?
It's an honor. Great, man. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Always a pleasure.
It's your first time on the podcast.
My first time on any podcast. And
That's what I meant.
And I'll say confidently that the net worth of your guests is still at like about $1 billion. So I'm happy to contribute. No, I'm excited, man.
Yeah, I'm excited too. We've had many great conversations over the years, and I wish a lot of them were recorded, but now I think it'd be pretty cool if the 19-year-old versions of ourselves, someone from the future came and told us that we were going to do a podcast. We'd probably be like, what's a podcast? But that's awesome. It sounds sweet.
Yeah, exactly. What is a podcast? Yeah. I was thinking the same thing, actually. We've had some deep ones in our friendship, but hey, what better time to start recording than now? So I'm excited,
Boom.
man.
All right. So the format is basically going to be, we have 5 topics or so that we kind of know what they are, so we can like look at them a little bit. And then Brandon's going to be asking the questions. And then at the end, Brandon's Big Bites is going to be a segment where he kind of brings a question or a topic or something that we don't know about. So let's see how this goes. Let's do it. You ready to start?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
First question. What's your take on the election?
Ooh, what's our take on the election? All right.
It's a big one.
I'll go first. I got 3 points of my take on the election. For anyone listening, I like politics. I think it's interesting, but like, I don't care that much about it, but I think it's cool. But this is something that we talk about a lot. And I like Trump and you like Biden, or at least voted for. But, all right. So my first take, I think the Democrats, I think if you look at politics as a game, I think they just did an amazing job. They used the virus to their advantage. The coronavirus, COVID, the pandemic, the name's always changing, but they use it to their political advantage. And it's funny when you see them like protesting and partying when it fits their, fits what they want. But the fear in politics kind of works. And they say, never waste a good crisis. And it kind of played into Trump being an asshole thing, which was always their thing. When he didn't wear the mask, they're like, oh, so that was really smart politically. And then also mail-in voting. So my second take is about, I don't think mail-in voting is fair, but it was the rules of the game. Like the Electoral College, some people complain about, but that's the rules. So this year around, that was the rules. We have to do online voting in the future. I don't think it's fair because people don't need an ID, and also like moms and shit. And they can send in like them, their kids, maybe their aunt, or not their aunt, like, people in their family. I think they could send in a few of people who might not have gone to the polls. But that was a huge advantage for the Democrats. And Trump never said to his people, like, mail in. He was all like, go to the polls. And that turned out to be,
right?
Yeah, that turned out to be a disadvantage in the game of the election. And also, I trust the results of the election. Like, I always trusted them ever since Trump won the first time. And then I trust them this time. I trust that the votes were counted right. Do I think some people's moms sent theirs in? I do. But I think they were counted fairly. And then my last take, I'll let you go, is I'm sad and I am going to miss Donald Trump. I love that guy. I truly believe he's one of the greats. And this doesn't help that, I don't think. Obviously, they didn't get reelected. And also, besides for that, I want it in 4 years from now to have a whole new era of politics, like new issues, new people. But honestly, in next election, it could be Trump versus Biden again. Who knows? Grover Cleveland was the only president that did 4 years, lost, and then came back and won again. So I'm kind of bummed that is going to be dragged out another 4 years of this like standard politics stuff. But those are my 3 takeaways.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with a lot of what you said. I mean, for me, the big takeaway is how in the world are we still doing mail-in ballot? Like in today's day and age, how have we not figured out a way to do this online or electronically somehow? I mean, that's the big thing. It seems like such an antiquated way of doing things, even with the pandemic. We knew, I mean, anyone who was using their
Well,
brain.
it was because of the virus. Like we never would have done it without it.
But it always existed, right? And there's obviously going to be influx. And then also, like Pennsylvania, for instance, didn't start counting votes, mail-in votes, until the day of the election, which in any other year is probably fine. Like, how did they not have the foresight to say, hey, we're going to have 1 million extra mail-in ballots, and let's start counting them when we get them? Like, I don't get that. I don't understand what's the purpose? Is it to avoid leaks? I guess. Like, why not just start counting them early? That way we're not waiting a week.
I have no idea. You want to know what else I don't like about mail-in ballots? Is one of the fun things about politics is like when Trump said grab him by the pussy, like there's some stuff that happens like towards the end, like a November surprise or like whatever the people say the last couple of days. I mean, that kind of like takes that energy. Like when Hillary got, what was it? The James Comey said they were going to look back into it. That was like a couple days before. So nothing like a couple days before had the effect that it did in the past.
But there was nothing really that like happened. You know what I mean? There's nothing that spicy. I feel like this election season seemed like, first of all, it seemed like it lasted forever. And maybe that's because of the pandemic or what, but it was a long time. And it felt like the 2 campaigns, like there was nothing really special. The only thing that happened was like Trump would have his in-person, and then Democrats would freak out because of coronavirus. And then Biden would have his social distance ones, and the Republicans would say he can't draw a crowd. So it was just like the same thing over and over. So to be honest, it's a relief that that part of it's over. I can't say I'm surprised by how your boy Donnie is handling everything. I mean, it's exactly what you love about him. What I don't like about him, he's being such a melodramatic baby about everything. And there's enough people. I mean, who knows? Like, I'm not against like confirming that all these votes were legit, and it seems like there's no evidence for it, and he's just like pounding his drum, and he's just like, it's fake, and it just seems like he's being a little bit of a baby. But he's definitely recounting.
He's definitely being a baby, and it's funny. Out of all there's no like thing that you're like, ooh, that could be that could be a problem. Everything's just like, no, actually, we just counted them, and took us a couple of days, we got it right. Like there's not one thing I've heard that gives me any reason to believe or confidence that it's going to be turned over. Like there's not one piece of like thing where I hear it as the average person being like, ooh, that's good. He's just saying, count the legal votes, not the illegal votes. Like what's an illegal vote?
I mean, I love the like juxtaposition of the half of his people chanting, count the votes, count the votes. Which is what they were doing. Like that's what they're doing.
But then the other half
is saying, stop the vote. So like, what are we doing here? And it's ironic that there's only discrepancies in the states that he lost. But I mean, it's something that's crazy. It's razor thin. Like Arizona, they're just now getting to, almost 2 weeks after the election. And they're just now getting to a point where they're like, we're confident that Biden won. But I mean, it's crazy. It's
50-50. I mean, the election is essentially a tie. Like it was 50-50. And it was like that last time too. I always ask older people this, and I've never gotten a good answer because in 1988 or something like that, 1984, Reagan won 49 out of 50 states. Like 49 out of 50 states. And I've asked like my mom about that. And she's just like, I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention to politics then. Like, I wonder what the feeling was like then. Obviously, it probably wasn't as intense or in the news that much. I mean, politics have always been boring. No one really cared that much until Trump came along.
Well, because for a couple of reasons. Obviously, he's polarizing with his personality, but he's also like by far the most present on social media that any president's ever been. You know, like he was always so public with his life. So we know so much about him. It's interesting. I always think about like in 20 years, politicians are going to like there's going to be no hiding. There's going to be no covering up their past misdiscretions because it's all going to be out there. Like look at their Facebook from when they're 19. Are they being creepy? Like there's going to be no secrets. So that's probably a good thing, but it's going to be interesting to see like what's exposed.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's already out there now, but yeah, more social media stuff. And like,
Right, but
honestly, I don't care. Like, if I see a picture of someone partying in high school, I'm like, okay, whatever. Like,
right, and I think that's overwhelmingly what people are thinking now. But the two people that just ran for president are both 75 and older, so like we don't have pictures. Like was Trump?
yeah.
Did photographs exist when Trump and Biden were born? I don't
I
know.
mean, there was like this story on like the New York newspapers back in the 80s where I remember one of the headlines was like, he divorced uh Ivana and he married Marla Maples, a second wife. And that was all in the news about the divorce. And one of the headlines was like, the best sex I've ever had from Marla Maples. He always tried to like put stories like into the news that were like, eye catching. And also kind of, he went on Howard Stern a lot and said like embarrassing stuff. Like I like that about him, that he can overcome some of these like negative, profane stories about him. But I've never been that good at explaining why I like him. I mean, part
Right.
of it is, I guess part of it's business and taxes, like basic politics stuff. I'm a business person. I want politics to be pro-business. That's the least important part. I love how he can overcome every obstacle. Like he's seriously like, once something bad happens, he just instantly moves forward and starts something else. And I love his ability to overcome things and just keep moving forward. And I just love his attitude. I've studied every single president and I've memorized all the presidents. I love presidential history. And I always thought I do. I do.
But like, you know their names.
I know their names, but I also like, I've at least watched a few times, like the History Channel ones that give you a little bit about each one. Like I've heard about the Grover Cleveland thing before, where he was president and he got pissed at this other guy won. And then he came in after that. But the presidents that are remembered, there's two things that they can be remembered by. One is like if there's a big war, a big event, like the Civil War. Abe Lincoln would have just been another guy if there was no Civil War. And then there's other people that just get remembered for their fucking spirit. And that's like Teddy Roosevelt. He got shot once and he kept doing a speech. He used to like box in the White House, like that brute American attitude. He used to like go ride buffalo. And he also did some things on the left, some things on the right. He broke up big businesses. He was a president that's remembered just by like his attitude and his energy. And like, I always thought Trump would be remembered as that. And the one thing I think he'll be remembered for the most is being the first non-politician. And if someone watches the documentary one day, they'll see all this baby people on the left saying like, and identity politics, all this shit. And he came in and just like wiped it out. And I think I was so happy when he won for that reason. And I think it's gotten a lot better since then.
I think he's the opposite of Teddy Roosevelt, because exactly what you just said, he like united the country and got everyone on the same page, kind of rallied around a common goal, and like, let's all move forward together. And I've told you this before. I think in Trump's mind, his biggest enemy isn't like North Korea. It's not China. It's Americans that didn't vote for him. That's like his biggest enemy.
It's funny how history's it's funny how history's written though, because Teddy Roosevelt, I know a couple of things people are mad at him for. One, the guy Mark Twain hated Teddy Roosevelt. Those two were like a battle. It's kind of like Hollywood versus Republican. And then actually Teddy Roosevelt was the first president to have a black person in the White House for dinner. And people were pissed at him. Like you look back and he has a great legacy and you remember that he united the country. But I mean, I don't think he necessarily united the country, but he did the Panama Canal. But it's just history ages like over all these little details. And I thought that over time, all these little like annoying stories of his would like fade off and only like the good things would be remembered. But yeah, I guess
not a lot of, I would say there's not a ton of like the people that are going to be writing the history books are probably not going to remember him well. And I would say,
I mean, especially that he lost.
And, right, but even his presidency, so divisive.
Yeah.
The way that the last year was no good. The last year has been really bad for him.
The coronavirus is bad for him.
Really bad. He did a terrible job handling it, not just like his policies, but the way that he approached it was just awful. You know what I mean?
And the way that
you get caught with your pants down, and he just pretends it's I don't know. It's just like a microcosm of him, and the reason that people don't like him. So
yeah, the way that he approached it was, don't worry about it, don't let it bother you, just move forward. Like it is what it is type of attitude, and that just doesn't make people feel safe. Like Shelby's dad, for people listening, my wife Shelby, her dad voted for Trump, and then he voted for Biden just because he said he watched him during those coronavirus things that were on 6 o'clock every day during March, and he's like, I just can't I just don't like this guy. He's just being annoying. Like he definitely didn't help him
He was.
it didn't help him to have that pandemic. It was not a great
And
strength for him.
throughout that all the social injustice and like not being able to like
I hated
to
him
take a
there.
stand there has been terrible.
I hated him for a month during that George Floyd thing. I thought it was so obvious to just go out there, give a unifying speech. He did kind of buckle down into like his side. And yeah, I guess he's divisive. I can agree with that. I mean, there's a lot of people that are just coming at him that are also divisive on the other side. I mean,
Sure, for
they
sure.
just put a
totally
little
agree.
They put a little cuter
I hope that
little
I hope that
package on
ends.
it.
It's just more pandering. Like he panders to the people that on the other side. But I mean, you're right, and it's tough because everybody in like Hollywood and entertainment, they're all obviously so biased against
Yeah.
Trump that it, you can see right through it. So anyone who's on the fence, they're like, oh, fuck that. I'm going to be like, that's all a bunch of baloney. At least this guy shoots it straight, which it's true. I just hate everything that he kind of stands for. So
Shoot straight. Last thing on this is like, what do you think the Biden presidency will look like?
I think it's going to be kind of standard, like it has been before Trump. You know what I mean? Like probably not shaking too many trees, probably not making that big of a splash. Who knows? I mean, the healthcare stuff like that, to be honest, it's important for sure. It's a little bit boring to me. I don't really understand or care all that much. I want
don't
people to
either.
have healthcare. I get that. I do think that people that are saying like, oh, he's a communist, he's a socialist. I mean, Biden
He's
is
not.
like
He's not.
pretty much right down the middle, like as moderate as you can get
Yeah.
in today's Democratic Party. So, I mean, the question is going to be like, his health. I know a lot of people are saying Kamala is going to be taken over. She doesn't have a great track record. I mean, it's awesome that she's a woman, first woman VP, but we'll see. I mean, I don't see whoever won it. And obviously, if Trump won it, there would be no third term. But I don't know that I see. He's kind of like a transition, kind of a stop.
Yeah, I think it'll be boring, and I think maybe life can go back to normal a little bit, which is a lot of people voted for. Yeah, I mean, I sometimes get mad at myself over the past 4 years, like paying attention to politics too much. I mean, it's not that important. That's my main philosophy about politics: is really who cares, and that can go away. So that's the one thing I'm kind of looking forward to, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And the stock market, the stock market is going up because there's, I guess, like Republicans and all those other spots. So it'll just probably gridlock, boring, and people can worry about other shit.
I mean, everybody flipped out 4 years ago when Trump won. The world was going to end. Like it didn't. There's been a little bit more unrest, but I don't know how much this affects. The more older I get, the less I think that this sort of thing really affects people. You can't really get much done.
And people said Obama was going to be a communist like 8 years ago. I remember my aunt and uncle were so pissed that like Obama was going to turn us into communists. He didn't. Like everyone.
But he was just like cool. Obama was cool as a cucumber.
So cool.
So you can't knock him for that. You see that video of him draining that corner three?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I mean, that was awesome.
I do think Trump. I think Trump is cooler, honestly, in my opinion. But not
That's
smoother.
Where we'll disagree for sure.
All right, let's move
Trump
on to the next
so
topic.
Uncool, but yeah. All right, let's do it.
Should kids today go to college and join fraternities?
I like this question because to get the audience to know my friend David, that's how we met. We were in a fraternity together. And I always love the fraternity. I think fraternities are amazing. But college in general, like, I don't know how much more worth it's going to be in the future. The fact that you have a college degree, does it help you in your career?
No, it just opens some doors. Like there are some places that you can't work unless you have a college degree. I think that that's getting increasingly rare, but no, like the actual subject matter itself, like what I learned, not at all. 0%.
Yeah.
0 points. I mean, it was a marketing degree that didn't mention the internet.
Yeah, I have the same degree. And for people listening, like obviously, I'm an entrepreneur, I have my company, but your job, are you recruiting or give a brief description of like, you just work like a standard job.
Yeah, I help hire and attract people to a company in Wilmington, Delaware.
Yeah, so you actually probably know a lot more than me about how important that is. When you're looking for people to hire, do you like to see that they have a college degree?
I mean, not really, to be honest with you. It all depends. I think that like for certain STEM careers, obviously like healthcare, engineering, things like that are very specialized. I think obviously it makes sense. Like you can't, I
Right.
guess you could do like an apprenticeship, but for
I
a
mean,
business
like
degree,
even like accounting
sales,
though. Accounting is good to
right?
know that
You can
stuff. It's
learn.
like specific.
Yeah, but
But
yeah, I would consider that a STEM.
marketing,
Like,
marketing, yeah, no way. Like
I
it's
think
not
that
important.
somebody who like right after high school, if they got an internship, then or they were an apprenticeship and they were learning business in the business, doing the job, then they're 10 times more prepared than somebody who went to Westchester for marketing.
Yeah, and it makes me like them more because it shows the initiative that when they were 18, they were thinking about their career more than going to college. So I think going forward, the future of a college degree is going to be less and less valuable. That being said, I fucking love college.
Yeah, let me say one last thing.
Yeah,
You said
yeah,
it
yeah.
you said it well, like it's going to be a thing of the past eventually, but right now there's still enough like boomers who are in management positions, who are in hiring capacity, who give a shit about that. I think that
Okay.
that's going to be like people our age, millennials, whatever, nobody cares, but
And I
there's still like that, it's a preconceived notion, almost like a
and I,
stigma for somebody who
and
didn't go to school.
and I think their logic is we want to see somebody who went to school for 4 years and accomplish something, start out with
Right.
a goal, finished with a goal that over a sustained period of time. They just kind of want to see that, which I understand in a way. And
For
if
sure.
someone's 22 and they didn't go to college and they didn't do shit, then I'd rather see that they went to college.
For sure.
But I think if college is taken out of the American experience of 18-year-olds leaving home, I don't like that. I think college is some of the for the average person, I think it's the most healthy thing in the world to get out of your hometown, go to a new place, meet new friends, learn who you are, do your own laundry, learn like who you are, really, like who you hang
Yep.
out with. And I worry that with the narrative of college being less important, that that'll get taken away.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think the hope would be like kids will find a way to live that life and to be in that environment, whether it's in school or if they're working in a restaurant or doing whatever they would do. Even I guess if it's like an internship, something more professional, it's a little bit harder. But kids are going to live together. Bars will be open, kids will party. But I agree. I mean, there you always hear people complaining that when I was in high school, I didn't learn how to, I didn't learn about credit cards or how to pay a mortgage. Like that's what you learn in college. You make your
Yeah.
mistakes in like a very sheltered environment, but still like you're open to new experiences and you learn so much. So I
Yeah.
agree. From a social aspect, it's like nothing compares. So it's really
Yeah.
important.
So that brings us to the fraternity, though. So here's me being prepared for the podcast. I'm sure you've heard these stats, but 85% of Fortune 500 executives belong to a fraternity. 40 of 47 U.S. Supreme Court justices were fraternity men. 76% of congressmen and senators belong to fraternities. Like, I think fraternities are the coolest thing in the world. Like, how fucking awesome was it that 20 of our friends, like 25 of our friends, lived in a big ass house that there was always parties at? It was basically had like immunity to the rules in the community. Like, it was the most amazing thing being in a fraternity and living in a fraternity house. And we had an amazing fraternity experience in our time. Don't you think?
For sure. For
And it,
sure. And I think it's important to say that, our school, we didn't go to like Penn State or one of those huge Southern schools. Like I think our fraternity experience is probably pretty unique compared to others. But I mean, I agree with everything you said.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's the same experience. Theirs is just a little bigger. I mean, our experience was fucking genuine. It was real. Like, I've been to some of those big fraternity schools. And my freshman year, I went to Ohio and checked out a bunch of fraternities. Like, I'm telling you, our experience was legit. And one of the things I like about fraternities is obviously it's great for a young kid to have like the mentorship of someone 2 or 3 years older at that point, because 2 or 3 years makes a big difference. And you get connected with new people. And there's something I was watching The Sopranos. I've been watching The Sopranos recently. I've never seen it before. And when they kind of get accepted into being the next level of the in the mob, they like do the little ceremony and little pinprick, and like it becomes there's something cool about pledging to be part of a group. And we saw many people pledging that dropped out like throughout the years. And I think it's also good for a young person to kind of be like beat up a little bit and be like, you're nothing, you're nobody, and have to earn their way into something. Teaches you a little bit of like commitment and that you're not shit, and it kind of beats you down a little bit. And I think there's something healthy to that. Uh to join a fraternity, like you are nobody and then you get to be part of it, and it's a cool experience. I've always wanted to try to like recreate the bond of like a fraternity in like the professional world, but it's it's
It's
it's uh
hard.
it's not it's not the same thing.
I think the closest that you would come to that would be like a really competitive sales environment. where
Yeah.
like you see personalities like that come out and like the alphas. The thing about fraternity, like you just said, it's like I almost compare it to like a team, a good sports team that has like a dickhead coach who's like always so hard on them, and it's a group of people who don't really know each other that well, who have a common enemy, a common goal, whatever you want to call it, that all kind of rallied together. They're broken down and then kind of built back up together. So you
Yeah.
get really close. I mean, our what was our pledging? 11, 12 weeks,
Yeah,
something like that.
semester. Yeah.
And I mean, coming out of that, some of our best friends, best
Absolutely.
relationships were made 11 weeks
Yeah.
in. So
Absolutely. And it's so fun. I love the element of just the mind fucking part. Like, remember how it was so fun to play into that game of these pledges? Like, I remember we used to make pledges do the most random shit for fun. I remember the one time I made him go to 7-Eleven and get like a Slurpee and put the candy bar in it. What was that called? I forget what it
what
was
was what
called. Or
called?
it's something where you put you basically steal the candy bar by putting it in the Slurpee. Or something, and I had made him get like a banana and something random, and they came back and they gave it to me, and we would keep like the most serious faces, like thank you, and like
Yeah.
then they're thinking they're thinking like, oh,
What is
is our next pledge event gonna have something to do with bananas, and like so
Right.
sometimes you like foreshadow stuff, sometimes you don't, and you just and it's a mind fuck the whole time. Having pledges is the most fun thing in the world at the next level, and the worst thing you can do is be a dick the whole time, and then all of a sudden they're in, and then you're just like, hey buddy, like you have to kind of mentor them throughout it, so it teaches you about
For
how to
sure.
like lead young people too, and it's just it's so fun messing with them. Remember, here's one of my other favorite stories. I remember the Phillies lost the World Series and everyone was pissed, right? And we had one of the pledges like 2 hours after the game ended, just run into one of the rooms where like all the guys were sitting watching the game. We're like, just run into that room and yell, "Holy dicks in my ass! The Phillies lost the World Series." You remember that?
Yeah.
And he ran in and said, and the guys were like,
So
"Get the
stupid.
fuck out of here!" We just make him do whatever, and like
Yep.
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and you get 3 years of doing it to people, and then you only have to do it once, and it's just so much fun. That camaraderie, God, I just love it so much.
You know what else I loved, and like it's never discussed, is one of the greatest things is the anticipation of learning like secrets, like 100-year-old secrets.
Yeah,
And like being so excited to learn, and like inevitably the secrets are going to be disappointing or stupid or like this is why we use this kind of pen or something, but like the excitement right before you're about to learn them, you're like ooh, and then you're disappointed, but like that excitement's awesome, feeling like you're in on something or like a part of the secret society, like
yeah.
I mean that's that is exciting to me.
And then the stories that are around the rest of campus, like I don't know what those guys do,
Mhm.
and you're just like, yeah, you'll never know. It's kind of got that
Yeah,
cool
but,
little like,
but
vibe
that
to it.
goes both ways, because they're like, we heard they do some questionable shit,
Every
and
time
like
anyone
people,
ever said we did questionable shit, I'm always like, I can't say. I don't mind if people think. I don't mind what people think. I want them to think we do like the elephant walk or whatever. Like I don't know the
Yeah.
mystery.
We did
the
not.
mystery. Right.
I will say
nice,
we did
nice,
not.
Nice. Right. We
Um,
don't. We
and
did
then
not. We did not. Right.
so here's the one thing, like the argument of people saying like you're just paying for friends. Is there a rebuttal to that makes sense?
No.
Right. Okay.
But
So we're
your
on the
friends
same
su-
page there.
But like your other friends suck. And also, like how many people came into the fraternity that we didn't end up being good friends with, and they were disappointed, and like they paid for friends, but it didn't. You still have to actually be friends.
Right, but I guess, but coming off of that question would be like the money that you spent for a fraternity, like where exactly does that go? Where did it go?
I don't know. The composite
What stopped?
picture.
Like
the
hypothetically, what
parties.
stopped? Well, we paid for that. What's stopping a group of guys to be like, we're a fraternity now, but there are no dues? Anything? I guess you wouldn't be school sponsored. Like, do you pay the school? I'm
It's
not
so much
poking a hole
effort.
in it.
It's so much effort. Like we actually had
But
traditions, and we had a house, and like if someone just wanted to start that, it's not that easy. It wouldn't be as
right,
enjoyable.
but like it's a genuine question. Like, does PICAT pay the school to exist? Or does that money all go right to like the national fraternity?
I don't know. It's not that expensive. Some of the money goes to the national fraternity, a
I
little
know.
bit. Some goes
I'm
to
just-
the composite picture. Some goes
But
to
we
like
paid for that, didn't we? I thought we paid
no.
for
It's
that.
it's in the dues. It was in the dues.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was like $300 a semester. It wasn't like that crazy.
I'm not saying that it was like a crazy amount. I was just like, I'm trying to poke holes in everyone who doesn't want to join a fraternity. That's usually what they say. Like, you're paying for friends. And like, I mean, you could look at it that way, but we had an awesome time. It made our college experience 10 times better. So
Yeah, exactly.
say what you will.
And getting back to going to college, I would be sad if fraternities get taken away because I think that's a great thing. But also the other reason is the worst thing you can do, the worst piece of advice or the best piece of advice I ever give someone that's going to college. I tell anyone I know that's going to college, it says, don't just make friends with the people in your dorm room. Because sometimes people just make friends with their people in their dorm room. Then they get an apartment together off campus the second year. And they're going to a school with 30,000 people. And all they know is these 11 randos from their dorm room. And they
happen to live next to.
They minimize their entire experience of how great college can be. And that is the lamest thing to do. So just getting out of the dorm and going to like the middle of campus and being surrounded by more people, it instantly expands your experience. And if the only thing that is worth it, if the only thing that isn't worth it is college, is the experience, then don't waste it on making friends with your one loser in your dorm.
Sometimes you end up marrying them. My roommate married the girl that we lived next to freshman year.
That's right. Shout out to
but that's the exception.
Steve Crane. Yeah,
that's the exception.
That's the exception. All right, what's next, Brandon?
So y'all went door to door together. Sales. What did you learn from that?
You go.
A lot. So have you talked about it on the podcast before? Sean and I did a door-to-door sales internship. We worked for a company and we were basically selling a painting service or free estimates for a painting service. And that was it. It wasn't glamorous. We literally put on these wrinkled polo shirts and found these neighborhoods, like perfect neighborhoods that had like 300 houses that were built like 25 years ago. So some of them had been painted, some of them needed to be. And we're like, oh, this is perfect. And we would go park our car, go door to door for like 4 or 5 hours.
We're basically trick-or-treating.
Yeah, except instead of like people expecting to give you candy, you're ruining their nice Sunday and you're trying to give them your spiel. So I actually did sales for a while after graduating. And that's really cutting your teeth. I think that door-to-door sales is like, if you can do that, then doing like cold calls, doing inside sales is a breeze. Because for me, it was like, I learned how to deal with roadblocks and objections and like how to kind of navigate around those. I learned that every potential sale is, you start from scratch. You had a really terrible experience with the last person. Maybe their neighbor is the nicest person in the world. They're going to invite you in for a cup of lemonade on a hot day and like sign up just because they're nice. And also a big thing for me was like learning to make the best out of maybe a crummy situation and have fun and make it a good time. We would go to doors like we were having a bad day. We're like, all right, let's both go here. We'll say, hi, I'm Tom. This is Jerry. Or I'm Dave. This is Matthews. And we would just like mess with people a little bit to see if they were paying attention, but also to like break up the mundane door to door. But it was hard. I mean, it was a lot of people slamming doors in your face, like sicking dogs on you, screaming at you for no reason. But I thought it was a fun job.
Going door to door where we both went to the door was the funniest thing.
So much fun. We'd go three at a time.
Yeah.
We'd go three at a time.
Two or three people at one door. It's just so awkward. And like, we just did that to mix it up. But I like the fraternity question and the door-to-door question because it's showing like our relationship, because that's what we did in college. And I love the door-to-door thing. First of all, I had a job for only 3 months out of college, which I've definitely talked about on the fraternity. I quit, all that stuff. But I got hired at that sales job just because in the interview, I told him I went door to door and I was instantly hired because of that. So If you want to go into sales, just put door to door on your resume, even if it's not true, because people love that shit. And if you actually do it, it's incredible. You said one door's good, one doors are bad, and that's true. But I definitely absolutely noticed, and we should talk about this, that we would get a sense of momentum. We would pick up a few.
Very streaky.
We would get hot. And now that could be maybe because the one neighbor here's the other neighbor or something like that. And they see that you just landed one and they're like, oh, or I don't think that's it though. I think it's because your confidence picks up. The confidence in your voice can be like respected on the other side. There is absolutely a difference in how you sound, in how you pitch, And I mean, that's sales. I mean, they teach you to have the great pitch. And we would always say, oh yeah, we had the pitch down. We've been, giving estimates left and right to people in your neighborhood and stuff like that. We had the pitch, we had the words, but the way you say it and the way you have that energy, like it definitely picks up and it's definitely can be noticed. And that's a sales lesson, but we would get streaky. And oh my God, I remember the cops. You weren't with me the one time, me and Ray Hunter, the cops, they literally, like, there had been some burglaries in the neighborhood, and they called the cops and they made us wait out front for the cops to come. And we were like, yeah, well, while we're waiting, like, do you want an estimate? And and barking dogs. Oh man, barking dogs was the most awkward thing in the world, because they're just literally want to kill you, and they're right in between a screen door, and they're just like, and you're just like, and it really kills the momentum. And the other terrible thing was, if someone's doing lawn work and you're like 3 houses away, you see them off in the distance, so awkward.
And they like hang their head and walk inside into the garage, knowing that you're coming, and like they don't want to talk to you. That. They're expecting you, so you kind of have to go. Also,
or just like paying an estimate. You're just like paying an estimate.
I hated waking up a baby.
Oh yeah, and they're like all pissed at you.
Right. It's like I don't know. Like, I'm sorry. It's like, dude, I got one day off with my family. It's a Sunday. Phillies are playing. I'm trying to watch it. You're ruining my good time. It's like, I mean, your house looks like it could use a fresh coat of paint. So I don't know what to tell you. The two other things I learned. One is like how to treat people that are going door to door. I think most people are probably dicks to them.
Dude, I signed up for a pest service like 2 weeks ago for someone that came to my door.
I gave somebody a lead for an energy service. Like, I'm totally happy. I don't know. But the other thing is that no soliciting signs hold no weight, 0 weight. That means nothing. Like, people can put them up. Doesn't matter. It's just.
I don't think they're legally binding by any means.
Definitely not. So anyone could put it up. Do you remember, quick tangent, the one time that this was before the internet, like we had phones, but our phones could text and call, and that's it. And one day, like, what would happen is that there would be 2 groups of us, basically. Me, you, and like Chuck would get dropped off here, and then Tom and Ray would go to a different neighborhood. And it's like, all right, meet here at the right time. Meet here at whatever, 10 o'clock. And both of our phones died because we were probably texting.
I think we left them in the car, I think.
Oh, okay. I knew that we didn't have phones. So we were like, where did they say we were going to get picked up? We had no way of contacting them. 0 way. So we had to walk. We knew that there was like a flower nursery. We walked like 1.5 miles to the nursery. We had to use their computer to go on Facebook, they used to have these groups where it's like, oh, I lost my phone. Everyone that I'm friends with, post your number here. And we looked up, like, Ray had posted his number there, and it was maybe the most genius idea we've had. And
dude, I actually remember we actually didn't use a computer because we didn't have access to one. The only number I had memorized was my brother's. So I called my brother to log on to my Facebook, to go to that group, to get Ray's number. Then I used the same phone to call Ray. Genius. I thought about that like in the past year or something. That was smart. Smart. We really had to think about that one and figure it out, because the numbers aren't just listed on Facebook. We had to go to the page that had the numbers. Damn, that was pretty.
What an odd time to be alive. Do you remember that, getting a new phone? I just got a new phone myself, and I have to press like 2 buttons, and I have my phone. I have everything that I had, pictures, contacts. Before they would print you out a list of 300 numbers, and it's like, all right, get to work.
Yeah,
that was a good time. It was a bunch of stories like that.
Even now, if we left our phones in the car in that same exact situation,
we'd be screwed.
We probably could have used someone's phone and went to the group ourselves, or I guess there wouldn't be the group now. But man, that was so much fun doing it. We get a little tan. We get to go walk around, get a little exercise.
Do you remember when we would go for like an hour? We'd go for like an hour at like 5 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Do you remember we would like do that? Usually it was like on a Saturday morning, but sometimes we'd go like after class in an afternoon, and that was always like the least productive 2 hours of our lives, because we'd walk there and we wouldn't really be into it, but it was a good time. A lot of fun memories. But one other story, one time, it was like the hottest day of the summer. We were no leads. It was just one of those brutal days. And this lady was so nice to us, brought us inside, gave us cold drinks. We were playing with her kids. It was awesome. Good times.
Yeah, I remember that. And then we'd re-hit up the same neighborhoods. But, oh man, for anyone who wants to get into sales, go door to door. It's seriously, imagine each door is a little new experience. You don't know what you're going to get. I remember the one time we had 2 people at the door, and the guy came out on his underwear, and we just started laughing. And you want pain, man? No. All right. So it was fun, and it was a good experience, and taught us a lot about sales, honestly. Go bring that energy to the next door. And we said we picked up momentum, but for a good salesperson, they can just internally bring that
Create
momentum.
that.
Yeah, to each sales call. So we were young and we were confident when we got a few. But for salespeople, you can kind of
Good experience, though.
internally bring that every time. Great experience. Boom.
Next, what's your take in Oregon where all drugs are decriminalized?
So, the important distinction: not drugs are not legal, but they're decriminalized. So I think that's like the big takeaway here after looking into it. So it's not you're not legal. You're not technically allowed to do them. But if you're caught with a small amount of heroin, coke, whatever it is, it's like $100 ticket, and you have to go to like a treatment facility and have, I don't know if it's a therapy session. I don't know the details, but rather than go to jail, you talk to somebody that can help you.
And for the people who don't know the story, it was during the election. That echo. During the election, there was the presidential election, the senator election, the Congress election. And in Oregon, right? Oregon, the state of Oregon, on the ballot was, should we decriminalize drugs? And it won. So that's where this came from.
Pretty convincingly. It won, like, I think it passed by like almost 60%.
So it's just weird. It's weird because one of the things that cops like to do is they catch someone with coke and then they try to say, where did you get it from? And then they try to find where they got it from. And they try to have the person snitch or wear a wire or whatever. So then they can find out like where it's being produced. And then they can go shut down the production facility. So they stop drugs in the community. I guess cocaine is still illegal. I mean, it's still
illegal.
You can't create a manufacturing cocaine plant in Oregon.
You're not allowed to make it. Like, you're not allowed to produce it or sell it, but you can possess it. And you're still technically illegal, but it's a ticket instead of going to jail. So if you're
like
caught
a parking
with like
ticket.
Heroin, correct. But a little bit more serious, because then it's $100 fine, and you have to go
that
to
therapy stuff
rather than going to court.
So I like the idea of, imagine all the innocent people in jail that were just selling weed. Like that lady Kim Kardashian got out. And that was one of my favorite things that Trump did that was actually a little bipartisan, was he did the first step reform. Yeah, basically, dude, oh my God. How many people in prison are going to go on the street and stab people? Keep those people in there. For everyone else, I cannot, being in prison.
To be clear, those people would still go to jail though, if you're selling weed.
Oh, if you're distributing it, you still would?
Although in Oregon, I think Oregon was the first, if not very early, in legalizing weed. But the point stands that if you're selling drugs, that's still very illegal, and you're still not.
Okay, but basically, like, whatever the law is, that's what they had to change. But definitely the vibe there is we aren't judgy. We're not judgy about drugs, which is cool. And also, we don't want people to deal with like real prison criminal issues for small amounts of drugs. That's just stupid, and it's a waste of the cops' time. And I agree with that. I agree with those two things.
And money.
What about money?
Like so I think it's tax revenue for weed, like legal weed, and the fines here goes to, rather than that going toward like court costs and incarceration and prison, that will all go towards like public health and these programs that are supposed to support like rehab. So rather than punishing somebody, like if somebody's caught with heroin and they go to jail, like that's not going to solve their heroin problem. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's more likely that they would solve the heroin problem by going to talk to somebody. Like there's these medical experts at our treatment centers. It's obviously not perfect. Like, do I love the idea of somebody, like everybody being able to carry around heroin? No, I don't think that that's necessarily a great thing, but I do think that it's a better alternative than sending them to jail. They'll come out and they're right back on the needle.
And I think that's what they're saying. They're saying, we don't want to do the jail thing. We don't want to do the judging someone in society thing, turning them into a legal criminal on paper. Okay, I'm in for that. But like, so just like a thought experiment, forget that. Let's just say they legalize drugs. Like, so basically, I don't know, like you're a parent. What if when your daughter's 18, she comes in and you find a bag of cocaine and ecstasy? Like, are you gonna think that's okay?
No, I mean, I don't think I would think it was okay now or then. But I guess the concern would be if you're growing up in a place that drugs are legal, then more people are going to be like, you're going to be more encouraged to try them when there's no risk or consequences.
Definitely. So that's I think that's the interesting part of the conversation is like, are drugs bad? Like what? I mean,
they certainly can be. I mean, I think that we can both agree that like heroin is is no good.
Okay, heroin it kills everyone who does it,
Right.
essentially. So
It
yes,
seems certainly seems that way. Yeah.
but cocaine doesn't kill everyone that does it. Ecstasy
All
doesn't
right.
kill everyone that does it. I mean, obviously not marijuana. Like, it's interesting. I mean, cocaine's addictive, so that's bad.
For sure. And it
It's
can take, I think
like,
it could be
yeah,
destructive. I mean, even I know that they did this in Portugal like years ago, and from what I understand, it like their number there was like they had a huge problem with heroin in particular, and from what I understand, over the past like 10 or 15 years since they did that, the numbers of heroin addicts has like dramatically decreased. I don't know
yeah,
why. Maybe it's that they are having a harder time keeping track because they're not like in the court system. And so who knows? But it seems like it's helped. It's interesting though because this is in Oregon. Federal law will always prevail.
right,
So like technically it's federally legal, but I can't imagine that feds are going to get involved in personal possession cases.
yeah. But like, I mean, alcohol is absolutely a drug. That's legal. Nicotine's a drug. That's
For sure.
legal. Like, why are those legal? I guess because
Alcohol is
maybe,
the big one.
like, why is
Like
it
that's so
legal?
destructive.
Why is it legal? I drink all the time. I have a show called Drink and Grow Rich. I drink every week. Like, I usually have a glass of wine at night. Like, I'm doing very well. I'm healthy. I drink. We talked about this before. I drink more than you.
Oh yeah. Not
Like,
Oh yeah, but yeah, I mean, I don't drink all that much.
so
I love
it's
beer, but
it's about social. It's about like society's acceptance of things. Society accepts cigarettes and nicotine. Society accepts alcohol, and thank God, imagine society without
I
alcohol.
know
And society is beginning to accept weed, but like cocaine. I mean, that was big in the 80s. I feel
a
like
little bit more
society,
destructive.
a little more destructive. Society understands what that is. Heroin, no one accepts society. But an interesting one is like mushrooms. Um,
Yeah, well,
like
I think they legalized that too.
yeah, so I don't know. Joe Rogan always talks about how everyone should do it, and it's very. I've done it a couple times. I've had one like crazy experience, and I was actually hoping for more like introspection, but I just had a good time. It felt great, and I was and had fun. But it's supposed to be very much like makes you think within yourself.
Expanding your mind. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yep,
not
yep.
not necessarily expanding your mind. Like the thing I think that's healthy about it is it makes you look inward
Like
to
reflect.
yourself,
Yeah,
reflect. And one thing I noticed when I did it, and I had a like big experience with it, was I looked inward, and I was like, oh, I kind of like what I see, and that made me feel good about myself. I'm always like honest with myself, and I think I do that naturally. I naturally like go inward on myself all the time, and I think it's healthy for people to go inward. So like mushrooms is an interesting one. I know the Native Americans used to have people like go out to the woods when they're at a certain age and like have that
it's
experience.
like
Like,
peyote. Yeah,
like what if mushrooms became part of society more acceptably? I wonder like what it would look like.
I think so. I don't know for sure, but like it's the whole microdosing thing. I don't quite understand as much. Like, are these people that are microdosing? Are they still getting like the psychoactive effects of it, or is it just like anti-inflammatory? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I think
Like, are you still tripping?
no, I don't think you are. No, I think you're just like I think it's
Oh, it's
kind of like
just like
having I think it's kind of like having one beer as opposed to
okay.
getting wasted. Like
Getting
having
hammered.
one
Yeah.
yeah, having one beer is cool. It's like you're not out for the day. Like it's just one beer with a meal. I think it's kind of like that, but I think it maybe like kind of the chemicals in their brain, it changes them like and it's just a little where they're still normal and they can still have a regular day, but they're maybe thinking on a different level. And a lot of smart people, I
Mhm.
think they just like to like put their brain in different spots. And if you can handle it, I like doing that. Like if you can put your brain in different like states and then like
Yeah.
think about a problem or a situation that you have going on. Like that's when people say, let me sleep on it. That means like I want to think about it in this state and then I want to sleep and then I want to think about it in the next state. Like you want to look at it from a few different angles. And I think with microdosing is a way to like kind of change your state of mind a little bit to look at a problem from another viewpoint. And
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know a lot about it, but it'd be cool if uh, a part of society was maybe like I don't know at a certain point everyone has to do it once or something like that. You can't make someone
Yeah.
do it, but
Right. Right.
maybe families could have it.
Gets a hall pass.
I don't know.
I think in Oregon so they legalized psilocybin mushrooms, but I think if I remember correctly, you have to be like supervised by like some professional. I don't know if that's like a hippie or like a doctor, um, but that would sort of, in my opinion, kind of like take away from
Yeah.
the whole experience a little bit. I don't know.
But it'd be
It's
more societally acceptable
for
to
sure.
like to go do it at a place that's like sanctioned.
Those I think that mushrooms are like the most misunderstood drug of them all. Maybe weed, but mushrooms are like, people either understand what they are or think that they're like going to burn a hole in your brain or something.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what I
the one.
mean?
It's the one that society like needs to come along on a little more because it's a
Right.
little more interesting. All right, so this is off topic, but I was thinking about traditions, and I hope I never told you about this before. But think about this idea. This is off topic completely. But one thing I think is super sexist, and I don't mind it. I think it's super sexist that all girls take the guy's last name. I mean, I'm no whatever. Like, I mean, that's the rules. Whatever. Just on its face, it's absolutely sexist, right? So here's this idea that I have at a wedding. And if this was the case of all time, I think that it would be normal and be awesome. I think at every wedding, there should be a coin flip for the last name.
Big
Dude,
stakes.
like, how cool would that be? And if that was the tradition throughout all of time, we wouldn't think anything of it. We wouldn't think that that was weird. We would just think it was normal.
Right.
Now, if you're the Kennedys or
Be
the
exciting.
Yinglings, maybe you can decide not to do that at your wedding.
Or if your last name was like Wiener.
Yeah. If you want to get or pickle or something like sillier, like if you want to get rid of your last name, you don't have to do it. But wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, I mean that would be. I think that. I mean, now it's hard to look back on it from this perspective, but you'd have to obviously both like agree to it. Now, if that was always the case, that's big stakes, though. Luckily, I married somebody who has a very normal last name to begin with, so I'd have been fine with it. But again, if my name was like Richard, and
Yeah,
I went by
I mean,
Dick,
right? You
and,
don't have to.
you
You
know,
don't have to do it if it'll sound weird. But most people's won't sound weird. If my name
That'd
was
be cool.
Sean Miskey, whatever. I mean,
it would add so much excitement to the wedding.
it would add
Like,
so much.
waiting for the last name reveal. Yeah,
Dude,
it's
it'd
like
be
a gender reveal, yeah.
it'd be just gender reveal. It'd be so exciting, and I mean, there's no reason. It's very sexist. I mean, I'm sorry, it just is.
Well, you just got married. Why don't you do that?
I mean, I want my last name to live on selfishly, and since society is going with it, I'm like, all right, works for me, I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
I know. Yeah, for us, it's like no
Yeah.
big deal.
and like,
I've always been surprised that hasn't been a bigger point of contention.
I agree,
Where
100.
more
percent
people are in like, wait a minute here.
My
What's
mom
going
never,
on?
my mom never changed her last name. I don't really know why. She just didn't, and like, I thought it was like a weird like sign because I don't know. She didn't. Yeah, like what's the problem here? Like, because it's weird to not to do it. But also the other thing I don't like is, and the other reason I want to have a boy when I have my first kid is like, your name can die out if you have all girls.
Yeah. Yep.
Literally
My dad's
die out.
I know. My dad's like, if my dad hadn't had 3 boys, then my last name would have been gone because his brother
That's-
didn't have kids and he has a sister.
Dude, that's
Crazy.
terrible. Yeah. So I guess that would happen more with the last name reveal too. But I don't know.
You
We're
just
talking
get,
about
but it's not even about having boys. It's like you just get unlucky. You know, I got tails 3 times in a row, so there goes my last name.
yeah.
You know, gone with history.
Yeah. Or, yeah. I mean, I just thought of that because we were talking about traditions, but that is my pitch to society. Now that I'm already married and my last name's good, I'm surprised feminists aren't more upset about that. And I have the solution. It would make every wedding more fun and exciting. It's a coin flip at the wedding. And the coin could be like something you keep like at your house.
A
or something.
commemorative point. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
Dude, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
5th question. If you can bet on one sport as a stock, what sport would it be?
I will say in my life, I have done really well investing. I made 22,000 in Bitcoin and I sold it. Now I'm up again about 10,000 on Bitcoin. I got like 4 or 5 stocks. They're all up like 20,000. I made money investing. I think I'm a good investor and I like to buy low and sell high. That would be like not buying, Coca-Cola. It has to go up. So I got the revenue right here of the major sports leagues. The NFL, 11.3 billion revenue, and revenue isn't the most important. It's just it's a metric that is comparable between all the leagues to show where they're at now. NFL, 11.3 billion, Major League Baseball, 9.7 billion, NBA, 7.7 billion, English Premier League, 6 billion, NHL, 4.5 billion, PGA Tour, 1.3 billion, Major League Soccer, 660 million, Major League Soccer, 860 million, NASCAR, 660 million, and the WNBA is 220 million, but that is an absolute lie.
Well, you said sport, not league, so we'll loop that in with basketball.
So yeah, we'll loop that in with basketball. Sure, I did say
And I
it
think
is
they're affiliated,
sport.
so.
It is sport. Yeah, but those are the leagues. So I have my answer. My answer is
Okay.
I think the NFL is the best league, and I think that would be a sturdy, healthy stock to buy. But I don't think it's going to go up too much in the future. A lot of people are scared of the concussion thing. I necessarily wouldn't really want my kid to play football. If my kid really, really wants to play football, I'll say sure, of course. But I wouldn't lean him in that direction. The knees are important, man. Knees, the concussions. It's the most fun sport to watch because it's once a week. You build up the excitement for it. It's huge.
Sure.
I think that would be a safe stock, but it would be like a push for me. Major League Baseball, I would absolutely sell the fuck out of that. I think baseball, I've talked about this many times. I think
Yeah.
baseball is the best sport for the radio. It's made to listen to the count, listen to the how many outs there are, what inning it is, follow along on the radio. And then once it got brought to the TV, it was still popular. I think it's a dying sport and it's very regional now. It's just too boring for a modern age. So I would bet against baseball. NBA is a good one. NBA is awesome. English Premier League, 6.2 billion. Major League Soccer, 860 million. As technology gets more wide, the world's becoming more global. I'm taking soccer. If I have to bet on a sport, I'm taking soccer. Is soccer boring? Yes. Do Americans think soccer is for fairies? Yes. Have I said that many times? Yes. When the World Cup's on every 4 years and America's in it, is it the most exciting sporting event ever? Yes. I think that soccer is healthy. It's good for your body. It's not an injury sport like football. And I'm taking it because I'm buying low. I'm not saying it's the best. The NBA would be my second one because I think it has a chance to go up. I think the NFL will stay the same and over a long period of time will go down. I think baseball will drop. I think the NBA will slowly go up. But I think if I were bet it as a stock, I'll take soccer because I think it has the best chance of being low now and growing in the future. So that is my answer. If I had to bet on one, it would be soccer.
I mean, it's a good.
If I had to buy a stock, it'd be soccer, not bet on one.
Yeah, it's a good argument. I think that football is king and will always be king. I also think that football has like probably the most opportunity to grow globally. Like basketball is already huge globally. Soccer obviously is much bigger overseas. Like I think soccer is obviously a good idea, but it's like, why hasn't it caught on here? It's still so unpopular in the States. So
I don't think it's popular for like high school people playing a sport. A lot of people play soccer in high school. Don't you think?
But that's what I mean. But why is the MLS still, nobody gives a shit about the MLS?
Yeah.
And I would say comparatively speaking, like people in Seattle love it. Even in Philly, there's like a kind of a following, but it's not like any of the other sports. But like the NFL is clearly planning on starting or having a team in London in the next probably 10 or 15 years. And it's not like they're just going to have one team overseas and then, call it a day. So I think that's a huge area of growth. I mean, I get the concussions thing. I think that rule changes and equipment changes. And at the end of the day, like people are very concerned about it now and it's still just as popular. You know what I mean? And like the social justice.
You want to know who's personally responsible for putting helmets in the NFL?
Who?
Teddy Roosevelt.
There you go. See, bringing people together. But the like, I think if anything, like take helmets away, guys are gonna go. They're not gonna go head to head with people when they're not wearing helmets. You know what I mean? If you go back to those leather helmets, are guys gonna be driving their head into each other? No, but I think it's a blue chipper. I get it. Like the opportunity to grow isn't always gonna be astronomical, but you can't go wrong. It's always gonna be king. There's room for it to grow globally. I'll put $100 in now and take my $115 in 20 years and call it a day.
That's fair. The other thing about football too is like, and obviously it is where it is. It's the most popular sport, but playing it with your buddies and stuff like that, it's so much harder to play football with your friends than it is to play soccer. Because
soccer's easy. You just need a ball.
Yeah, you just need a ball. And when you play pickup with your friends, it's like 6-on-6 and there's not really blocking.
Yeah.
Like there's not really a line. Like, so, and you're definitely not going to like go out with your buddies and play football and put on helmets and shoulder pads and knee pads.
Sure.
Like it's such a event to play football. And that's why I think high school is huge for it. And I think the best thing for football is the once a week element.
16
the
games.
waiting for it. Yeah, the waiting for it. Each game is an event and people go tailgate it. And that goes for high school, that goes for college, and that goes for football. And relating back to the college conversation, I think one of the best things that's keeping colleges relevant is the sports.
College sports.
Football's amazing. Football's the best sport right now for sure.
I got to give an honorable mention to hockey. That's obviously my favorite sport. It's just there's a huge barrier to entry for people to play. It's really expensive. Like there's a lot of work that needs to be done there, but ton of room for growth. It's very regional, like baseball, but less popular, unfortunately. But I it'll always have a place in my heart. I can't have this conversation without mentioning it.
Where do you think hockey has gone in the past 20 years? Up or down or even?
Probably, it's hard to say. I mean, I think like as a kid, that's all I cared about. You know, it was like the Flyers and Eric Lindros and John LeClair. So to me, it was king. You know, it was that and the Eagles, and everything else took a back seat.
I think it's gone down. I think it's gone down a little.
Well, they have like the thing that hurts them a lot is their work stoppages. Like they had a lockout. They canceled the 2005-2006 season. That was huge. I don't know that it's gone down. I just think that it's such a different game now. It's faster. It's higher scoring sort of, but like they got rid of a lot of these rules that clutching and grabbing and slow the game down, but it's also less tough. They're still fighting, which I think will always exist and should always exist. It's how they police the game. But I think it's probably right where it always has been. It's just in Philly in particular, where I live, the Flyers have kind of been irrelevant and been like, I saw a graphic a couple of years ago. They had a great year last year, but before that, over the past 10 years, of all 4 sports leagues, the Flyers were the most average team. Like it's like 100 teams. The Flyers were right in the middle, which doesn't help. But when the Flyers are good, I mean, look at Chicago. Like nobody gave a shit about the Blackhawks until 2010, and then
it's kind of like baseball. It's a little regional,
right?
But yeah, I suck at hockey. Never liked it as a kid, so I'm like,
it's a great game. I still play it. I love it.
Where's lacrosse in this conversation? I remember we both played lacrosse in high school, and lacrosse, I remember I was 100% convinced because I went to like this convention and some professional lacrosse player told me by the time you're in college, a couple years after, lacrosse will be the
fastest growing game in America. Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's just not. I think there's also a like super regional. It's like like Long Island and New York and Philly, and then like New England. Some California. I mean, it's getting big. Dude, I don't know. I played lacrosse and I don't really like it.
Imagine how arbitrary sports are. Like throw a ball in a basket.
Yeah.
Like it's like why it's so hard for a new sport to penetrate the soul of America.
Sport? What was that sport in Westchester?
Cronum. Yeah. Yo, that sport is pretty sick.
It's a game.
There's like there's 4 nets. It's like a circular court. Yeah. And there's 4 goals and something about kicking, throwing. Like
it's like a gym class game, but it's not. I mean, it's never.
I don't see why not. I mean, it's just my point is it's
if
so
we're
hard
talking about lacrosse. Yeah, if we're talking about lacrosse not growing, like I don't think that Cronum's going to be the next football, but who knows?
But like if we spent all our time and sat around and thought about the coolest sport as far as fun to play, fun to entertain, we could think of a cooler, more fun sport than baseball, basketball, or football. And I think that's how Cronum started.
Yeah.
But it's just there's roots in sports. People played them. They love their teams. They're related to cities. Like it's just so hard to make people care about a new sport. And I think that is going to be basically impossible to change. I mean, football, baseball, they're American iconic things. Yep. And it's going to be hard to do, but it'll be curious to see in the future. Esports. I had a podcast. My guy, esports. I had an expert on the podcast. The main thing I learned is it can't really be compared to these other sports. It's not one league. Sport. It's more about personal branding and like people watching you on your feeds.
Not everything that's competition is a sport. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't see it as a sport.
It's closer to chess than it is like basketball.
Is throwing darts? Is that a sport? I don't think so.
Billiards, bowling.
Yeah. Bowling is more of a sport than video games, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, what's the argument that they're like reaction time and reflexes and stuff like that, hand-eye coordination? So is juggling. Like going to the circus, are you watching athletes? I don't think so.
Yeah. So, all right. So you take the blue chip stock of football. I take more of the bet of the long term of soccer, and overall, the sports that are popular, I think will be the ones that remain popular. It's going to be hard to penetrate that market.
Brandon's big points.
Our last segment that we're gonna do every week is we're gonna know those 5 topics. We're gonna kind of research it a little bit, but Brandon, the man behind the camera, is going to come in with his segment. It's gonna be Brandon's big bites, and he's gonna bring up something that we don't know what it is, and it's going to be his segment. So with no further ado, the first ever Brandon's Big Bites. Let's hear it, Brandon.
Okay. The world is ending due to an alien invasion, chaos, Armageddon. Describe a detailed plan on how you protect your family, your company, Sean, United Monograms, finances, find food, and survive.
I have a lot of questions about if it's like they're shooting down all the buildings and killing everyone. I'm not really going to be too concerned about protecting my finances and my business.
Business
You
one.
know, like I mean, I need to sell products to customers online, ship it to them, have them enjoy wearing it out. If aliens are shooting down all the buildings and destroying people and killing people, there's really no point to that business. So let's just say it's total chaos, or are they? Give me a little more. Are these aliens destroying the world?
Let's say it's like Armageddon. Like, yeah, people are scrambling, like lawlessness.
Okay. All right, because I have an answer.
But they're not in Charleston yet.
Okay. All right. First thing I'm doing is every time there's a crisis, most people panic. I will instantly take a deep breath and I will say, okay, I am going to keep a clear mind through all of this. That's the most important thing. Second thing I do is I'm going to every single local CVS, every single local drugstore, and straight up robbing all the drugs and putting them in my car. So that way, if this alien invasion passes and the whole world is chaos, I have power in the new world because I have pharmaceuticals, I have medicine, I have drugs that will make me valuable in the new world. So they're not in Charleston yet. I'm keeping my head on my shoulders and I'm trying to acquire those things. Then I guess I'm just going back to my house, and I don't have a basement, and just kind of hiding, and just I could get in a car and drive, but what's that going to do? I could go to a field. What's that going to do? Maybe I would try to find somewhere that is not surrounded by other people. So because there's no reason for them to shoot an area with, they want to shoot higher populated areas than lower populated areas, but I don't own any land or buildings that are not like that. So I would get all the drugs from all the pharmacies. I would literally just go in there and like just punch them in the face. Or I don't have a gun, but this would be an argument to have one for something like this.
That's my first move.
Yeah. Right. I might go, I know where actually there's a gun store. I would go to the gun store, then go to the drugstores, then go right back to my house and just
bunker down.
Put those drugs somewhere safe and bunker down. Yeah. And then I would just, food and stuff too. I would get the supplies, but more importantly than the food would be the guns and the drugs, because those are going to give me power in the new world. And I believe that the humans will ultimately win this war. And
just wait it out.
Wait it out. And then when the whole world is shut down, government means nothing. Taxes mean nothing. Society means nothing. Business means nothing. Roads barely even mean anything anymore. And there's a new society that begins. I want to begin that new society with the power of at least having some drugs and medicine to make myself valuable.
Yep. I mean, that's all smart. I would get guns and food. I would also get a radio. However, I can learn as much about what these aliens like and how it can be valuable to them without being like a sex slave or something. I would just
team up with them.
Right. I'd pander so hard. And also I'd probably get like a shit ton of gasoline and like a big truck, so that if it came to having to be like on the move, then I'd have a good car that's able to like climb up hills and mountains and stuff, and a ton of gas.
Gasoline's a good one. And we think it's going to be easy to get these guns and this gasoline and stuff, but it's probably going to be a huge.
It's a first place, right? Line. I think it's looting, so it's like every man for themselves.
It's then the people who had the guns to begin with will have a leg up at the gasoline line,
right?
And it would be kind of fun.
Yeah,
it would be kind of fun.
Growing up, aliens were my biggest fear by far. Your biggest fear? I was never afraid of like a home invasion or natural disaster, but aliens scared the shit out of me.
You want to know what I think about aliens? I think we're the aliens.
Deep.
Deep. So there is a rule. You can't describe your mate right now. Describe your perfect woman.
He called me out on this, I think, last week, but I've always liked strong, independent women who are like not pushover, somebody who's going to tell it out how it is and not be afraid to bite back. I've always had a thing. I will say my wife's redheaded, so it's hard to stay away from this. But for redheads, I like shorter girls. And the big thing is, again, kind of being strong-willed, someone who can stand up for themselves, tell it how it is, and not somebody who's going to take a back seat.
That's good. I mean, for me, I want someone smoking hot for sure. I guess that might be artificial or whatever, but
Superficial.
I don't know. If I get to, superficial, but if I get to pick, smoking hot body. And then, but that's not the most important thing. But then, I mean, Shelby's basically my perfect girl. I mean, she runs the company amazingly, and she's so smart and emotionally intelligent and works so hard. And I like those traits. But I would say, I know you said we can't bring our mates into it, but if there were one thing that I wish she was more of, I wish like that I think I would like, but maybe I don't like it, but I think I would, is someone who like is a little more like witty and like can reference movies and like kind of is just like knows like kind of topics that are going on and just like is kind of witty and well informed and like opinionated and like sharp about like things that are going around them. Like I'll put on a movie for Shelby. We'll watch it and she won't be able to recall any of it. And I'm like, come on. I'll reference
Fall asleep
it
in 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll reference it. And like, she won't know what I'm talking about or like witty. I think witty is the right word. And I think I just said that because Shelby's basically my perfect woman in every single way. But sometimes I wish she was a little more witty. So someone who's witty, smoking hot. And I mean, a lot of people ask me when I go on podcasts, like, how is it like working with your significant other? And I say, I don't have any advice for you because I am just lucky that me and Shelby just work amazingly together. And I just am blessed that I think that she is so great at what she does. I could not have my company without her. And she's so valuable and she's such a low paid employee. It's such like it's such a great value that's brought because it's someone that does what she does. I would have to pay him so much. And she's been there from the beginning and the trust. I definitely brought my mate into it. I wasn't supposed to, but hot and witty, and then basically Shelby.
Brandon's big points.
All right, Hex Dog, what do you think about episode 1?
I thought it went well. I don't know how entertaining I am, but good conversations. I always enjoy talking.
Yeah, we'll get better. I think we'll get better. I think it was great. Mm-hmm. I think it was great, and I think we'll continue to build on it. And that's the thing. Just like I committed from the time I started my podcast, I'm doing 100 episodes no matter what. I'm not giving my time. I'm not giving myself any time to think. I'm not going to question it at any point. We're doing that with these episodes. We're going to build on it. It's going to be amazing. And dude, I had fun. I mean, I always love talking to you. These are fun
likewise.
Topics. These are fun topics to talk about, and it's going to keep improving.
Agreed. And if listeners have anything that any like suggestions for topics, obviously feel free to like submit them, put them in the YouTube comments or something. Take a look at those. But yeah, it was great, man. I'm looking forward to next week.
Boom.
One down.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This has been the Sean Lowery Show, and we love you guys. Thanks for listening.